What is going on, everyone? This is Nate the Great coming to you live from the All Sports All Plays Network today. And I'm here with Ray Cruz. I'm here with Greg Hot Seat Galno, and I'm here with new analyst to the network. Welcome, Andy.
How we doing? Yeah, thank you so much for having me. Excited to be a part of the team. I'm Andy Hopper, so I host my own podcast. It's called The Brew Party. I've been doing that for almost a year and a half now. Freddie reached out to me and asked if I would be interested in joining the team. I thought, why not? Try something out, try something new, another platform, bigger reach to spit out these hot takes. But I'm excited. So I'm from Illinois, so I'm about 2 hours south of Chicago. So I'm a Bears, Bulls. I am a Cardinals fan, not a Cubs or a Sox fan, but I like the Blackhawks as well. I like having a good time. I like drinking a couple beers and talking about sports. So thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining us. So this is gonna pretty much be for the next couple of weeks. We're gonna be doing a post game. This could basically be a post game show. We talk. It's gonna be NHL and NBA. Now, obviously, today there were no NBA games going in, but let's go into the games that we did have NHL. To start things off, the Bruins they won against the Capitals today 4-3, and it looks like it was an overtime. Yeah, it was an overtime game. We'll start with Ray on this. What are your thoughts on this game? Start up with who do you think is going to take the win? Does that change your prediction when we did the previews? What are your thoughts on this?
Well, I was kind of picking the Bruins for this one anyway, but I was going full 7 games. It looked like it might be going to full 7 games. This game was more of a battle of the fist fight, game. But I mean, if you look at the Bruins, took it 4-3 in overtime. The way I look at it, they had a little bit more shots on goals here, and they were tied going after the first period. Second period, nobody scored, and then the third period, they came back and all tied it up, and then it went in overtime. So Bruins got that one goal to make it 4-3. So I look at it this way. The series is shaping up the way I expected it's going to be shaping up. So to me, I think it doesn't change my prediction. I think the Bruins are going to win in 7.
I totally agree with that. I think that the Bruins are going to win in 7. Now, when it comes to these overtime games, game 1 was also an overtime game. Washington won that 3-2. It was an overtime game. I'm gonna go. I don't know if it's gonna be bold or not. I think that there will be. I think this series will finish off in 5 different games being in overtime. That is a bold take here. Now, Andy, I'll go with you because you said you like to make a lot of bold takes. Any bold takes when it comes to this series?
I think the Caps take this series, actually. I'm going to take the Caps. Caps year, baby. No, but if we look at it, like Ray said earlier, it was a fist fight. It was a dog fight. It was really, really back and forth. We saw 4 total goals scored in the first period, 2-2, and it was just, Boston jumps out with DeBrusk. He gets his goal, and then Washington almost immediately after, power play goal from TJ Oshie there, their only power play opportunity they were able to cash in all night. And then, Bergeron comes right back 2-1. And then you get Hathaway scores his first of his 2 goals on the night. So I really liked what I saw from both teams here. It was just the Capitals, they do what they do. They're physical. They're going to get into you. They're going to hit you. They had 18 total hits and 18 total shots in the first period. Really trying to be aggressive, really trying to set the tone. And they almost had this game. And, I think all of these games are going to be tight. The last 11 playoff games between these two teams have been decided by 1 goal. And then now 6 of those went to overtime. So we very well could see more overtime games. Like we said, game 1 was a 4-3 victory for the Caps in overtime. This one's a 4-3 victory for Boston. The stars of the game, like I said, Hathaway has 2 goals. Then you look at what Tuukka Rask was able to do, 36 saves. He does allow the 3 goals, but he was pretty terrific. And then Marchand really quickly into overtime. It was like before it seemed like it even started. 39 seconds into the overtime period, Brad Marchand with the game winner, the one-timer for the Bruins. But if you look at the final stats, the Bruins outshot the Capitals 48-39. They were really, really good on that. Like I said, the Capitals with 36 hits, they're really physical. But then the faceoffs, if you look at that, 41 wins to 24. For the Bruins. So they just really dominated that area of the game, and faceoffs are important in hockey. Let's not pretend that they aren't. I do want to give a shout out to Anderson, the goalie for the Capitals, because he does allow the 2 goals in the first period, saves 37 straight shots after that, ends up giving up 2 more. But this was a very, very good hockey game. Playoff hockey is the best hockey. Everybody knows that. And I think this is one of the better ones we're going to see in this postseason.
Canes doing sweep. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But Greg, before we go in, looking towards the remaining of the season, remaining of the series, excuse me. Now, what's your prediction? Does it change when we were talking about doing the previews, and any key players that, when talking about the remaining of Capitals and Bruins, any key players still looked out for?
Well, I remember Andy brought up an interesting point on how face-offs do matter, and I remember specifically you said something a long time ago, Nate, that they should keep track of statistically about who wins the most amount of face-offs and stuff. Didn't you say that when it comes to getting into the Hall of Fame, that winning face-off should be a factor into who gets into the Hall of Fame?
I remember somebody saying that. I don't remember if it was me, but I remember somebody saying that.
Well, I just thought it was an interesting point because, face-offs are very crucial, especially when it comes to playoff hockey. But, last week we were talking a little bit about the hockey picture, and I was excited about this matchup because I thought that this was going to be one of the most pivotal matchups in all of hockey. I think they're both very well-matched teams. The Capitals play a little bit more physical play, and I said earlier, I think last week, that the Bruins were one of those teams that was looking like a front runner a long time ago when the season was fairly early, and then they kind of went through a slump and had some injuries and stuff. But I think that what they did at the trade deadline to pick up Hall and pick up some more defensive help on their line and everything, I think they made all the right moves to make a push for a run. I don't know how far the Bruins are going to go, but I'm still going to stand with the Bruins. But I think this one's going to go 6 or 7 games. I think it's going to be a very tight series. I think it's going to be a very physical matchup. But I just think I'm going to give the Bruins the edge just because they went out and got Hall from the Sabres. When the Sabres had a fire sale and got rid of pretty much everybody good for drafting. So that was a very smart move. It was a great pickup, especially with his offensive help, and it came through today when he scored the tying goal. So when it comes to players to watch out for, I mentioned Taylor Hall. He was a huge pickup. He's getting a little bit more new life breathed into him now that he's with the Bruins and on a decent team, because he was just wasn't playing bad with the Sabres, but I mean, when you're losing almost every single night, losing, for 2 weeks straight, I mean, that's got to be tough on your mindset. So it's good to see him in a new uniform everything. So I'd keep an eye on him. So I think that he's going to be a big time player in this series and in the playoffs. And of course, Marshawn, he's very fast. He's very fast, and he can get after it too. So those two came through big time today. I think that the Bruins, I wasn't big on the Bruins when they were actually playing very hot, a few months ago before they went in their slump. But I do think that they're going to get past the first round.
Now, I remember not on the Sports Status podcast, but I made a post on the Sports Status Facebook page about this. Let me see. There was a guy that I was talking about. Boston's leading scorer had scored a total of 69 goals. 69 goals this season. With the team. Now it was Nicholas Backstrom. If he's hurt, game 3, I think it's easily over. Easily over for that team. I don't see any wins coming out. I think it's going to be easily over. I think Washington takes it. I think he's mostly the key factor for the Boston Bruins franchise. But when talking about the Washington Capitals, who is that biggest key factor that if he gets hurt in the game, it changes the game dramatically? We'll go with Andy.
I mean, you look at a guy like Ovechkin or maybe a guy like Hathaway that just put in 2 goals today. I mean, Anderson, the goalie, had 44 saves. He did give up the 4, but his save percentage was over 90% the entire game. I know I'm forgetting some people here, but I think it all starts with Ovi. I know he's getting up there in age, but he is the way this team goes. And then maybe a guy like Tom Wilson, he's their enforcer, a guy that is not very well liked around hockey, you could say, for his antics. He did get called for embellishment today after he got tripped to kind of put another 4-on-4 situation. That's something I wanted to bring up is just whoever – they have to make sure their good guys aren't the ones really getting into these fights and these chippy situations, because by the time there was like 3 minutes to go in the fourth period, in the second period, they had already had 4v4 opportunities. So there was just guys on both sides getting into it, guys on both sides getting chippy. And then obviously a guy I need to mention is Nicholas Backstrom for the for the Capitals. I mean, I believe he led them in ice time tonight as far as the forwards go. So yeah, I mean, Nicholas Backstrom, Ovi, Tom Wilson, and any of those guys, I think.
Yeah, Nicholas Backstrom, it was Washington's leading scorer. Brad Marchand was Boston's leading scorer heading in with the 69 goals, 29 goals, 40 assists, so 69 points. Let's move on. And actually talk. You're Ray, since you are the Carolina Hurricanes fan out of everybody here. What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on this game? They took three goals in that third inning, which was a key inning for this Carolina Hurricanes team. So, what are your thoughts on this victory tonight?
Well, what Carolina Hurricanes does is they like to first part of the game. They start off really slow in this game. Nashville came out and took it to them in the first few minutes of this game, and then as the game continues, see what Carolina does is they like to wear you out, and that's basically I think that's what they did to the Predators tonight. They wore them out in that third period. They were after them. The puck went to the Predator side for about maybe 2 or 3 minutes in that third period, but the shots on goal, it was unbelievable. It was 34-9. I think it was about 34-19. I think the last count they showed it was about 34-19. And when you get 34 more, when you get like almost double that, and you're team, you're going to wear a team out because the team has got to play on defense. And what Carolina does is they got three different line shifts. They got one that can play slow down. They got one that can speed you up. And then they put a mixture of speed up and defensive on the last line. And that's what they did in the third period. They put their fast guys on the front and then put their slow guys on the back. And they played it pretty good on the thing. And then they had that one last goal was an empty netter. And that was a good play because the Predators had three guys around the puck, and one of the Hurricanes poked it out, and the guys picked it up and had a breakaway to the open net. So, I mean, the Predators in the first period, they played great. And then when they started moving into the second and then to that third period, that time when the third period came, I think Carolina knew they had them on the ropes, and then they blasted them. That's all they did in the third period to break that game open.
So I'm going to pull up a comment real quick. Do you think Carolina is going to get a sweep?
To me,
yeah.
Well, I think right now, if they play in the way they're playing, they'll do a sweep on them. I don't think the national team is going to win anything in Raleigh because right now the PNC Center is one of the tough. I think it's one of the toughest places because the fans are right on top of the ice. They're very compact in there. They see about 23,000 people. And if you go into the building, the acoustics for their fans is awesome because when the fans gets routed and they start getting that hurricane, Pittsburgh's got the turbo yellow towels. We got the white towels waving. And the fans get up on the glass in Carolina. They beat on the glass. And it just makes an atmosphere of a playoff team. So to me, if they're going to get a shot, if the Predators going to win anything, they're going to have to take some in Nashville. If they can't take any in Nashville and Carolina does, it's going to be a sweep because they're not going to come back to Carolina and win.
Now I'm looking up one thing real quick, but after I look this thing up, now I'll go with Andy on. Actually, John has a comment. It says, live 30 minutes south of Relay, seem like more people around here is pumped up for this team, even more than the year that they won it all.
Well, I can tell you so I was born and raised in Henderson, North Carolina, which is 35 minutes outside of Raleigh, North Carolina, which is the capital city of North Carolina. So to me, I was there when the Hurricanes came, when they first announced the Hurricanes were coming from Hartford to Carolina. Yeah, that pumped up the Carolina fan base there. Then when they won I wasn't in the state when they actually won the Stanley Cup, but when they won the Stanley Cup, I was watching every single game, and to me, you could tell by the fans inside the stadium and stuff, they were pumped. I mean, this team, they had gone through some, down years here, but, they come back up and they're getting stronger and stronger. And I think as games go on, Carolina gets more confidence. And if they get these line shifts, these makeshift line shifts they got, Carolina could be a tough out for anybody.
Now, last I looked, the Nashville Predators' last playoff win was in the first round. They lost in the second round, I believe, was to the Dallas Stars, just for no playoff history. Now, do you think? Just give a quick comparison, Andy. Do you think that the Carolina Hurricanes in the third period is more like the Colorado Avalanche in the second? Scoring lot is what I mean.
I guess. Anytime you jump out and you score 3 goals in a period, you're doing pretty well, right? And I believe the last time I checked, Colorado's the betting favorites, odds-on favorites to win the Stanley Cup at plus 400. So, that's a good comparison, I guess. I think just what jumped out for me about Carolina was, the Teravainen, the one-handed tip-in goal was insane. That was a great way to get the momentum. Then you have Stahl, another guy tonight who pours in 2 goals, with 3 seconds left on a 4-on-4, little shorthanded action. But, they were just throttled them the entire time. In the first period, Nashville did get 2 goals in, but you got to remember you had the guy, their goalie, Nedeljkovic, is a rookie making his first career playoff start. And for him to finish the game with 22 saves and only 2 goals allowed is pretty damn good. You talk about lack of experience in the playoffs. But yeah, as far as that comparison goes, I mean, I guess, yeah, because the Colorado does like to jump out in that second period and build on those leads, or if they're down, try to come back. But just it was an overall great performance. They dominated the shots on goal tonight. The Carolina Hurricanes did 38-24, and none of those were on a power play, which I think is even more impressive. Just shows like how much they really were breaking down that Nashville defense. But yeah, great game for the not the Panthers, the Hurricanes. I definitely could see them sweeping this series. Just I think exactly what Ray said. They got 12,000 fans there tonight. Not that these guys aren't used to playing in front of a crowd, but when was the last time they were playing in front of 12,000 raucous fans like that right on top of you? So I think that definitely had it. Had some effect on it as well, but it was back and forth in the first, and then once the Panthers, or God damn it, the Hurricanes got going, it just really, they didn't look back.
So we'll go with Greg on this one. I'll ask you the same question I asked when talking about the Boston Bruins and the Washington Capitals here. Anyone on either Nashville or anyone in either in Nashville or for the Carolina Hurricanes? Anyone on those two teams? Any key players to watch out for when talking about the remaining of the season series?
Well, I mean, for the Hurricanes, I mean, you gotta look out for Stahl. He's a really good goal scorer. Carolina overall is an excellent defensive hockey team. I don't think they're quite as physical as a couple teams, like the Capitals. I don't think they're quite as physical as them when it comes to defensive play, but they're an excellent defensive team. We saw it today. They only the Predators only got off about 19, 20 shots or so, I believe, in this game. Maybe a few more than that, but yeah, I mean, the Hurricanes outshot the Predators by about 10, 15 shots, so they kept the Predators at bay. And, as far as are the Hurricanes going to sweep, I do think that they're going to sweep. I think that when it comes to hockey and we start getting into who's a contender and who's a pretender, okay, the Hurricanes are definite contenders. Okay, I think they're probably in the at least top 4 teams in hockey. When it comes to the Predators, they're not a bad hockey team, but I don't think that they're by any means built for success for a late season run. So they got some decent players, but I just don't see the Predators really putting up much of a fight with the Hurricanes. I think they're pretty outmatched. I know I said last week that the Predators were probably going to get a game or so, but I do believe that the Hurricanes are probably going to sweep. They're just playing phenomenal hockey right now. Outside of the Knights, I think the Hurricanes are one of the hottest teams going right now. So Ray, your Hurricanes are getting it done, and I think that they will finish it off pretty quickly. So there's not too much really left. I mean, for the Predators, it's going to be all about their goalie, because I mean, their goalie didn't play terrible, but I mean, you saw what the Hurricanes did. Boom, boom, boom. Came right after it, scored some quick goals and everything, and that was pretty much the difference. So, like Andy was saying, when you can put together 3-4 goals in a quarter, that says a lot when your defense is letting you down and everything. But overall, the goalie for the Predators didn't do too bad, but he was just overwhelmed because that side of the rink was just taken up all day long. The Predators weren't giving them much time to relax out there because they didn't get very many shots on the opposite goal, and they didn't put much pressure on Carolina to really have to do much. So I think that being said, that I think that the Carolina Hurricanes are just going to move on pretty quickly. So I think they're going to be the first team going through to the second round.
Yeah, I totally. I agree with you on that. Now, let's talk a little bit before we talk about the game that's going on right now about the Blues and the Avalanche. Let's talk a little bit about what happened yesterday. And I'm going to start off and bring up a comment real quick. A team that choked was the Penguins. They should have swept the series. I think that the Islanders is pretenders. Now,
come on now, John.
okay. I want to say one thing. When these two teams played in the regular season, this happened before the trade deadline. The Penguins and the Islanders did not play against each other after the trade deadline. So I understand that Pittsburgh Penguins lost. As a matter of fact, I called it. I'm calling it right. I call it before the series started. Penguins were going to win this game, but Islanders were going to get some wins as well because the Penguins had not played against this Islanders team yet. The Islanders gained two players, but Penguins, they got a player that can help. I can't remember the guy's name, but he got a player from the Kings on that seal of a trade that they got. Could somebody help me out?
Trying to look it up right
now.
Kyle Palmieri?
Yeah, Kyle Palmieri. That's what it was.
Palmieri, yeah.
The Islanders picked up Palmieri because, Anders Lee went down with a knee injury.
So I can understand why I didn't think it was going to be a sweep. I did think Penguins were going to win the series, but I didn't think it was going to be a sweep. I thought it was going to last 6 games. Now, Greg, you're an Islanders fan, and Islanders, they won yesterday. Did you agree with my statement or anything? You have anything else to add? Or?
Well, like I've said before, I've been a little bit hard on my Islanders. I know that you've been high on the Islanders, and I would love to be high on the Islanders. I definitely disagree with John Suggs about them being pretenders. I think that they've made some pretty good moves at the trade deadline to compensate for lack of scoring and everything by picking up Palmieri and picking up a couple other good prospects along the way. I think that the Islanders' defense overall this season has been pretty solid. That's what the Islanders have been known for the past few years, is having at least an excellent defensive unit out there. But I've been hard on him ever since Anders Lee left, because he was on fire before he tore his ACL and was out for the rest of the season. So I don't necessarily think that this game was a choke by the Penguins, because Barzal, he's been playing lights out. I mean, he's been doing it all. He's been helping with scoring. He's been helping with the overall points. He's been defending his teammates. He's spent a lot of time in the penalty box, trying to defend his teammates and being an enforcer as well. So you got to love a player like Barzal that's out there willing to protect his teammates and putting his own body on the line to do so. So I thought that this series was going to go the distance. I thought that it was going to be a tight series, and I thought it could go either way. I want to ride my Islanders through this and get them past this round. I really do, and I know that you had them going at one point into the Stanley Cup Finals.
Yeah, but I don't think they can anymore. I mean, I don't think because of the playoff bracket, I don't think they can. I think if the Islanders play if the Islanders end up winning that side of the bracket, they will play the winner of the West. Am I correct on that?
Yeah,
so that's how the finals
probably
works.
The Knights or the Avalanche,
and then the winner would
super tough.
Yeah.
So, I mean, my Islanders, they got some good help. They got some scoring to help, but it is devastating to miss out on a player like Anders Lee. But I think that my Islanders might have what it takes to get past this. But the Penguins made a few moves too at the trade deadline. So it could go either way. I really, really, in my heart, wanna root for my Islanders to get past this. So I'm just gonna go ahead and stick with my team at least for this round.
Oh, it was Jeff Carter, the guy that they got from the Kings that can. But the two guys that New York got was Kyle Palmieri and Travis Zajac. Andy, now we'll go with you on this one. Anything that you have to say? Do you agree with what Greg and I have been saying, or are you on John's side on this? Do you think it should have been a sweep of the Penguins?
I mean, I think it's really hard to say it should have been a sweep, after one game. And if you just look at the Penguins, their recent lack of success in the playoffs, this is their 10th loss in their last 11 playoff games. What about that makes you think that it's automatically they should just be sweeping the Islanders? They're a team that has, had playoff success in recent history. They were pretty good last year during exactly in the bubble hockey. And then, I agree with you guys. I don't necessarily know who's going to win this, but I think it's going to be close. The Penguins, they did finish the regular season 37-16-3. And then, the way the Islanders finished, I believe their last few games, it was like 6-6-3 to finish the year. So they're on a downward trajectory. So I get that, but I don't know. I think that playoff experience matters, and having that kind of momentum and extra confidence, I believe they probably have coming off their slight success last year. They didn't win the whole thing, but they got back to the playoffs and they won a series. So I think Palmieri was huge. Obviously, he had 2 goals yesterday, and you just got to limit Crosby. You got to limit the Penguins stars and just. I don't want to say hang on as long as possible because obviously they won the first game, but I just expect some more dogfights. This is a very, very good hockey. I don't want to take anything away from the Penguins and try to say they suck or anything because they don't, but I just don't. I don't know if I agree with the comment. It's like they should sweep them. It's like, how do you know? How do you know?
Yeah, and there was almost 80 shots on goal between both teams yesterday. So, I mean, as well as the Islanders have played defense, I mean, they still had 37 shots on goal against the Islanders. So, both teams actually played pretty well, moving the puck around pretty good from an offensive standpoint. So yeah, that was an interesting thing that I saw because that's a lot of movement up and down the rink when you have about 38, 39 shots on goal for each team.
Absolutely.
Now there was one other game out there. The biggest. Well, actually, there were 2, but there's this one. The Wild and the Golden Knights have been a very defensive battle. Well, actually, we'll go with Ray on this one. We'll go with Ray on your take on the Penguins and Islanders.
The Penguins and Islanders. Well, like you said, you got to keep Crosby at his at bare minimum. His bare minimum is you only going to allow him to score 1. If he gets more than 1 and he gets some assists going into it, the Penguins are unstoppable. I mean, they're just another team of level when Crosby's getting the accolades that he's normally getting. He's their center point of their offense. If you can hold him to 1 point like they did today and no assists, you really stop the Penguins' offense scheme with their plans. Their plan is to put Crosby in attack and attack and attack. And if he leads that charge with points and assists at the same time, then you're gonna have the Islanders on their back end skates and trying to control them. But if you keep Crosby the way they did today, where they did yesterday, keeping him one goal and no assists, then you really hampered their ability to produce any offensive thing. Even though they did score 3 points and the Islanders, took them into overtime. But I mean, I think the Islanders are a good shot because now they won 1 game in Pittsburgh. So now can they set themselves going back home? If they go back home 1-1, that's a win for the Islanders. So if they go back home with a 2-game lead, then you got to worry about Pittsburgh. So
now let's talk about highly defensive hockey game that I've been kind of, even though they're in my division, I've been kind of excited to talk about this high scoring into overtime defensive game. Wild took this one. Wild has been Minnesota Wild has been a very tough team. Now I don't think that this will last 7 games. I think this will last 6. Against this Vegas Golden Knights team. Vegas Golden Knights. It's going to be winner. It's going to be Colorado versus Vegas probably heading off into the next round, and then that matchup, Colorado versus Vegas, is going to be very, very tough. Going to last several. I see several overtimes happening there. Now, we'll go with Brady on that. Did you expect right off the bat that the Vegas Golden Knights were going to? That the Wild were going to win that game, or did you think that it was going to be like the Vegas Golden Knights victory? Ray.
Yeah. Ray or Ray? I mean
Ray.
Okay. Well, to me, I like hockey when it's a defensive battle. I don't like really high scoring hockey. I'm one of those perfectionists that you play defense and you got to make the team earn the win, and that's what Minnesota did. Minnesota earned this win. So, to me, if you look at this kind of hockey game, was the Golden Knights overlooking the Wilds and looking for hopefully eventually everybody's matchup with the Avalanche? I think they overlooked this team. I think this team snuck up on them, and the Wild just took it to them on defense. I mean, it was a defensive battle all match long. So, to me, going in overtime and you only scoring 1 goal, that's a good win right there for Minnesota. It could give them confidence and explode into this series. And if the Golden Knights are looking ahead to the next matchup, then this is going to benefit the Wild, because the Wild has has nothing to lose. And the Golden Knights have everything to lose. Mm-hmm. So when you got a team like the Wild who got nothing to lose, you sneak up on your team, you win 1-0. Now you're gonna get that team ability to get the momentum in the series. Now Golden Knights gonna have to pin their backs and getting back into their rhythm. So I think the Golden Knights are in a match. And in this game, if this is the prelude to every game, and it's going to be a defensive battle, then this game is going to go all 7 games.
Yeah, I mean, a couple stats you got to bring up here. The Wild are 6-1-2 against the Vegas Golden Knights this year.
I did not know that.
Talbot is now 7-4-2 in 13 starts against the Golden Knights, so they better not be looking ahead and thinking about the Avalanche now. It's about the Wild. It doesn't even matter, they outshot them. They won more face-offs, but the Wild had 71 total hits. That's what they're going to try to do. They're going to try to control the pace and just rough up this Vegas Golden Knights team and just see how they respond. Punch them and see if they punch you back, I guess, is the response here. But just terrific goalkeeping from Talbot. 42 total saves in that first game. But, Minnesota, they're not afraid of the Golden Knights. I think you said it perfectly. What do they have to lose? And a winning record in the regular season against arguably one of the better teams in all of hockey. So, 40 total wins on the year for the Golden Knights. Minnesota is not scared. So I think the Golden Knights, I don't want to put them necessarily on upset alert immediately, but like that, you cannot overlook this team. It's playoff hockey. Literally anything can happen.
Yeah. And even if they were playing against us, let's say the situation was flipped, and say you have the Wild playing the Avalanche, you realize that the Minnesota Wild gave us their biggest blowout this season. It was like an 8-0 victory, I think. And this Wild team is no joke. Even though I still even though I still have Vegas Golden Knights, I'm not going to back up my prediction just because of one stat. But even though I still have the Vegas Golden Knights winning this, the Wild are no joke. Now let's go into the comment section real quick because John Suggs has another comment. He says that the Panthers and Lightning series is going to be a good one, especially since that the Lightning have Nikita Kucherov, who's just scored 2 himself. We'll go with Greg. You know, what are your thoughts? The Panthers and Lightning just went. They went to overtime game 1. So, what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on this game? How many overtime games do you think are going to be expected later in the series?
And just in this series, I think there's probably going to be probably 3 overtime games. I think it's going to be a highly contested battle. I think that both teams are pretty well matched. I know that the Lightning took a pretty big blow earlier, losing their best player from last season to injury, but they still get up and down. They're one of the faster teams in the league, but I don't think this is going to be a blowout by any means. I think that the Lightning are going to have just enough to get through to the second round, but I think this series is going to go a good probably 6 games. But I think out of those 6 games, I think the half of them are going to go into overtime. I really do. So, yeah, and I like Kucherov. I mentioned him on earlier shows about what a phenomenal player he is. So I can see this being. I mean, there's some really good matchups. There's not, other than the Hurricanes that I think are going to sweep. There's not a whole lot of first round matchups that I think, oh well, that's going to be easy. And we're seeing it with the Wild. You know, on paper, you'd think that the Wild would be bounced out, in 4 or 5 games. But, the Wild, they're one of those teams with a perfect blend. They've got some older veterans, and then they've got some really young, fast skaters. They got Kaprizov in there. You might as well give him the Rookie of the Year trophy right now. They get up, they get after it. They hit people. They're not afraid of competition. They're not afraid to smack people in the mouth when they have to. And so I'm giving a shout out to one of our fellow analysts, Brandon Herrera. I know it's tough living in Minnesota, especially the way that the Twins have been kind of playing all season long. So it's nice that Brandon has something to really look forward to right now with the Wild. So I hope he's watching right now.
Andy, what are your thoughts on this on the series?
Overtime. So, I mean, something interesting.
Actually, who do you think's actually going to take the victory
in the series? I mean, I'd want to pick the Golden Knights, but I think if there is a team that could knock them off, it is the Minnesota Wild. I might sound crazy for saying that, but since the Golden Knights entered the league in 2017, no team in the NHL has more wins against Vegas than the Minnesota Wild. They are 6-0-2 against the Golden Knights all time when they're playing at their home arena, and I believe this year they're now 3-0-1. Playing in Vegas. So they're just not phased. I will not be surprised if the Wild upset the Golden Knights in this series. But also I wouldn't be surprised if Vegas kind of wakes up a little bit after that first game there and kind of turns it on. But they had over 50 shots on goal, I believe, in game 1, and then you just don't get one of those to fall. But it just crazy. So I can see it going both ways. I'm not going to be shocked if we see an upset, but I'm not going to be shocked if the Golden Knights really turn it up starting with game 2. But the whole overtime thing is interesting. Of the 5 playoff games that have already been played in the first round, 4 of them have gone to overtime. Or no, I'm sorry. Of the 6, 4 of the 6 have gone to overtime.
So just to go and give us a little bit of a outside sports comparison here, I really think that the Minnesota Wild to the Vegas Golden Knights is like rookie quarterbacks, first game starters, up to playing against the Cleveland Browns. Because the last time that a quarterback has had their first start against the Cleveland Browns, They have lost all 5 of those times. Starting off with Kirk Cousins and then heading over to with Brandon Allen. So do have another. They have a bunch of players back, which will help. Which I'm assuming he's talking about Panthers and Lightning. Yeah. What do you mean on that comment, John? Now, Andy, what are your thoughts on the Lightning and Florida Panthers?
I think the Florida Panthers are like the most forgotten about sports franchise in like all of America. I don't know if I've ever met a Florida Panthers fan like in my life. But you know, the Lightning are hot. You know, they were the Stanley Cup champions last year, right? Yeah, right. Yeah. They won last year, didn't they?
Lightning won. Yeah, Lightning
won. Yeah,
last
so I
year.
mean, you know, you hope they don't have that championship hangover. You hope they're trying to, you know, keep it going, and they're a very good team. You talk about, you know, Point. He had 2 goals in that first game against the Panthers, and Nikita Kucherov, a guy we mentioned earlier, 2 goals as well. Just they're almost like an all-star team down in Tampa Bay. It seems like. So I expect them. I think this is a team that could sneak up on Florida, and I don't know about get a sweep, but I could see a Florida only getting 1 win in this series. But you know, shout out Coach Q. We miss him up in Chicago for sure.
I see maybe 1, maybe 2. But I wouldn't be surprised if it was a sweep, because I think it was an overtime game today. Do you want to talk about Calgary Flames versus the Canucks? I know that game doesn't really matter much. Do you guys want to talk about it?
Up to you.
Yeah, that was not a playoff game. I really don't. Wasn't that just a makeup game? I'm assuming.
It was a regular season game. Yep, it was.
Yeah, it was a game. So just to talk a little bit about the Avalanche, going back to the Avalanche and Blues. Now I'm surprised Avalanche and Blues almost the end of the second inning. I'm surprised Avalanche has not done what they normally do, and that's score in the second period, because it's 1-1. It's 1-1. It's tied 1-1 hockey game. Who do you think is going to pull up with the win today? Go with Greg.
Well, you know, I've been throwing your Avalanche a lot of bones over the last month or so, Nate. So I think I'm going to go with your boys. I think that they're going to pull it off. I gotta throw it out there. I still think that the Avalanche are going to be one of the teams to beat. I also thought that the Knights were going to be one of the teams to beat. And I still think that the Knights are going to take that series against the Wild. But I'll tell you, I thought that the one thing that was going to kill the Wild was their inexperience, because they got some rookies. They got some guys that have only been in the league a few years. But, yeah, they're not backing down. They're not afraid. And they're showing great composure for a pretty young team out there, you know, sometimes on the ice. So it's going to be interesting. But as far as this game's considering this game, though, I think that the Avs are going to take it.
I think the Blues are going to get 1 game out of the series. And just to reiterate back to the comment section, John, you know, thank you for commenting, but John said that the Blues don't have the best shooter because of COVID, and that's David Perron. So it's really they're really down player. I think that they're pretty much done. I'm going to go 4 games. Blues get 1 game. because I'm nice, and that's either tomorrow or either the next game 2 or game 3. Ray, what's your opinion on this game?
This game right now, the Blues goalie just made a great save. The puck went up in the air and he shot it back into him, and the goalie laid out and put it between his legs, right between his body. So he just made a great save on the Avalanche, and according to David Perron, their leading scorer, and it shows on their end they can't get the score. They did get that one goal here in the second period, but it was a hard fought goal. So, I mean, it makes it different when you don't have your leading scorer in there. So where your points going to come from? So right now, what they're doing is they put in the Avalanche, and Avalanche is making some good plays on their end of the goalie too. So this is going to be I think this could probably be a defensive battle. And if the Blues can win this one, there'll be a big blow to the Avalanche, maybe give the Blues some confidence. But if the Avalanche wins, you could put the Blues back into the shell shocks, and they might not even get one game out of this. So,
yeah, I mean, the reason that the Avs aren't scoring in the second period, Nate, is because Jordan Binnington has 31 saves, and he's just been a brick wall. The only time he's allowed a goal was in the first period on a power play, and when the Blues were shorthanded. But I mean, if you look at this game, it's showing all the signs. The Avalanche are trending like they should be winning. They're literally they're almost doubling. I think they are actually doubling the Blues total shots, 32 to 16. They've taken double the shots, but the Blues also have 16 hits. So they're trying to be physical. They're trying to play as good of defense and stay with these guys as much as they can. But I mean, the Avalanche, they're getting a lot of opportunities. It's just, can you cash in on them? So do they have to try to get another power play? Do they a power play goal in the second half? Can the Blues get more penalty kills? Does Binnington stay hot? Can he keep them out of the net? So I think Jordan Binnington is the reason that the St. Louis Blues are in this game.
So that's all we have. We talked about the games from today. Talked about the games from yesterday. Any final comments before we give this close? And Andy, since you're new, I'll go with you first.
Final comments. So I gotta be honest, I'm not the hugest hockey guy. Like, I'm a pretty casual hockey fan. But tonight, like, preparing for this was pretty fun. Like, actually, like, sitting down and watching the games was fun. The Bruins and the Capitals game, I think, was great. I think that's gonna be the best series in the first round out of all of them. So I think that'll be, I don't want to call it appointment television, but I think that'll be one if you got some time and you're a hockey fan or even a casual hockey fan. There really is nothing like playoff hockey. So I want to thank you guys for having me on. Looking forward to more appearances in the future. But yeah, so my final thoughts. Bruins were impressive, kind of clawing their way back at the very end. Hurricanes absolutely dominating the Predators were also very impressive. I think they're a team that can make some noise because they're, at the same time, the past few years in the playoffs, they've had a couple heartbreaking series losses, and they still have the chip on their shoulder as an underdog, but they're a very, very good hockey team. So I think look out for the Hurricanes, and I like the Caps over the Bruins in 7.
Greg?
Andy, did you say that you were a Blues fan or not for hockey?
No, I'm a Blackhawks fan, but I don't hate the Blues. I got a lot of good friends that are good Blues that are Blues fans. So,
okay.
I am a Cardinals fan though. So
okay, that's good. We'll get along. I'm a Cardinals fan too.
Love it. I love it. Good to hear.
That's funny.
Yeah, and I owe Nate the Great. I owe it to Nate the Great's Rockies for picking up Arenado.
Yeah, for giving him to us for nothing.
They're fitting the bill for it too.
Which is also funny because even though I'm a Rockies fan, I'm also a Texas Rangers fan. And you are Greg. He is also an Oakland A's fan. And Oakland made a trade with Texas, and Texas traded away Elvis Andrews for pretty much nothing. Well, actually, I take that back. So not really pretty much nothing because we got David Dahl out of it. But
Yeah,
Anyway.
so don't worry, Nate. I'm going to tell you something. If my Cardinals end up winning the World Series this year, we're going to put at least one of the Colorado Rockies front office people on the trophy for helping pay for
They're gonna get a ring.
So,
Hey.
but on a hockey note, I mean, we got some pretty exciting hockey. I've been talking about the Wild all season long, how they're just one of those unexpected teams, along with the Blackhawks earlier this year, how well they were playing, considering everything that they had to overcome with Patrick Kane having an MVP type season, for a good chunk of the season going on. So we've had some excellent hockey games, and I think that this is exactly what the fans need to be in the stands rooting on their teams. This is exactly what the NHL needs, and I think this is what they've always aspired to, because with all these overtime games that we've had, we're just seeing the level of competition. And so when you've got all these games going into overtime, that shows you how highly competitive these games and series are going to be. And I think that's what gets the fans energized. And I think it's going to be a really good run. And I think that it's not just this round. I think that we're going to see quite a bit more overtime games, throughout the playoffs.
Now I'm going to talk a little bit about the Stanley Cup and talk a little bit about the NBA Finals. I've said this before. With the exception of baseball, I'm a big Colorado sports fan. I want Colorado to make it. I want Colorado to make it. So they're my team. I want the Nuggets to make it. I want the Colorado Avalanche to make it. But if they don't make it, I want to see a new competition. I don't want to see repeats. I don't want to see a Lakers, Boston Celtics. I just want to see something new. Last year, I didn't mind it because even though the Lakers played and they won, they played against the Miami Heat, which I don't think that's ever happened before in the finals. I don't want and this goes with MLB and this goes with NFL as well. I don't want a repeat of Dallas versus Pittsburgh because we've seen that 3 times. But if we see, if you throw in NBA, throw in Nuggets, and you throw in maybe a Charlotte Hornet because they had 0 championship appearances as well. I think. Then that I'm more excited to see that. I don't want to see these repeats of what we've seen in the past.
I want to see the Suns get a title in the NBA.
True. Yes, definitely the Suns. Ray, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, my thoughts is, my final thought here, I'm going to stick with my Hurricanes, man. My Hurricanes are like the team that, they got a chip on their shoulder, like he's been saying, because we've been chipped out of some of these playoffs before. So, the fans are back in the stands. They're rowdy. They were beating on the glass before. I had a friend that was actually at the game, and he said that they were beating on the plexiglass before the game, and the coach had to come down and try to calm him down because he couldn't get the last instruction into the team before they hit the ice. So, when you play at Carolina and you play at the PNC Arena, it's going to be loud. It's going to be the fans. It's going to be the most rowdy, and I think they helped the Hurricanes out. And to me, I want to say one more thing here. I'm a Navy veteran. I like to, wish all my people overseas. I had a couple friends come back and I seen the other day, and they told me that, one of their closest friends over there passed away, got shot in the head and stuff like that. So I like to, keep with my veterans and all my friends and who came before us in our prayers and stuff. So, as a military guy, we give precious time away from our families. And I was over in Afghanistan from 2007 to 2008. And I was away from my family and my friends and my kids. And, it's very hard to go over there and come back and stuff like that. When you go over there, you come back with something. I came back with PTSD. I've been helping some friends out around, coping with them with their PTSD, how they live around, because everything in PTSD is very dangerous, because you see the people come back to Fayetteville with the Army bases and stuff. They come back and they, you can hear them. They take out their family and then they take themselves out. So, this is a very serious thing. And what I did was how I cope with my PTSD is I go to church. I give it, my hands up with the Lord, and my wife gives me support, and I got a lot of friends that will support. So, when you see a veteran, just give them thanks and stuff like that, because it builds their morale. It builds their confidence that we did a good job and that people appreciate it. Because when people came back from Vietnam, they didn't get appreciated. They got ratted on. They got, stuff bad to them. And when people come up to me and they say thank me, I say thank him back too, because it's very, it's a very that people got people support around here. So, you just got to be really honest with you if you see a veteran, because sometimes you don't know what their physical abilities are. You don't know their because if you look at me, I'm normal, but I do have a disability, which is PTSD, and you can't see that. And I try to hide it as best I can. So, just keep out with our military people.
So, this has been Andy, Ray, Greg, and myself, Nate the Great, signing out, and we'll see you guys next week.